Hey guys, Chris Jarvis at Acrylic Pixel here. This video is going to be about Gamergate. Now, Gamergate has been in the mainstream media, so if you're not really into games, you may have heard about it. If you are into the video game industry, you may know a little bit more about it, you might have a stronger opinion of it. I've been doing some research and I've looked at some of the mainstream media and I've looked at some of the more opinionated YouTube views, and I wanted to find out more. I wanted to find out how these two sides could be so different and what was actually going on with Gamergate. So I started digging, and there's a lot of hate, there's a lot of negativity, there's a lot of inappropriateness. There's a lot of really interesting, well-presented thoughts and opinions that then end with death threats and hoping people die, which isn't going to help anyone do anything, ever. So I decided to do this video to let people know what Gamergate is and what it's doing for the industry and a few of my own opinions. And I promise I won't get angry, because if you look at loads of other YouTube videos, a lot of them get angry, and this is bad. So I'm going to talk you through what I found out to be what I believe is true and real. I'm going to try and leave out as much conjecture and things that aren't proven to be real or just people's opinions, because that's what a lot of this seems to be about. And it needs to be removed before anyone can actually decide what's happening. It needs to be sorted out because it's just giving a bad interpretation of the video games industry. So here are the bullet points of Gamergate. Zoe Quinn's ex-boyfriend said that she cheated on him with 5 people, some of which are in the video game journalism industry. Zoe Quinn is an indie developer. Some people have been speaking out against Zoe Quinn. Some people have been giving death threats to Zoe Quinn. Some people have been supporting Zoe Quinn. Zoe Quinn, possibly through her support, had a game released about depression. Some people really like the game and say it helped with their depression. Other people didn't like the game. There's been lots of talk and opinion about corruption in the video game industry, more specifically in the video games journalism industry, and the transparency of paid-for reviews, so payment for a positive review to video games journalists, and also payment from indie developers to journalists for a more positive review. Reddit and 4chan have had literally thousands of comments about Gamergate removed. The video games industry press has been very reluctant and hasn't spoken out much about Gamergate or got stuck into any of the issues. They've been very quiet. When a journalism industry gets quiet, people start to speak out more and question more and suspect more. It's like the super injunction against Ryan Giggs. When you take out a super injunction and swear for people not to tell anyone, then loads of people tell loads of people, and it's more news than if it just came out naturally. Zoe Quinn had a YouTube video removed because it used an image of her video game. This image turned out to be open source, and the person that posted the YouTube video didn't need to have their video removed. People in this discussion are misusing the word feminist. People in this discussion are misusing the word evidence. People are defending online abuse with online abuse. People are speaking out against the use of online abuse with more online abuse. As a result of Gamergate, there have been discussions about the role of females in the video game industry and whether or not video games are sexist. As a result of Gamergate, there have been discussions about corruption within the video game industry, and specifically the video game journalism. As a result of Gamergate, there has been questions raised as to the transparency of paid-for reviews. Mainstream media has decided to go with the story of female video game industry people receiving death threats. They haven't actually looked further into the story and discovered why they're getting death threats. It's just reported that female gamers are getting death threats, and that's pretty much all that people outside the gaming industry are being told, which is obviously wrong. It's wrong that they're not being told the whole story. I mean, death threats to anyone is always wrong. I would never condone death threats to anyone, and if you say that I did, I will kill you. Zoe Quinn has said on the news that she believes that Gamergate is about revenge porn, something of which I've not been able to find any evidence of. So my personal thoughts and feelings on this whole Gamergate It's very intricate, it's very complicated. I'm not sure on who's telling the truth and who's lying, who's a pathologic liar, and who's a troll, and who's standing up for what they believe in. There's lots of slagging off, and this is doing one thing, it's just degrading the video games industry. I believe that the video games industry and the people within the video games industry, the people that matter, are good people that aren't sexist and just want equality like most of the world, arguably. It's a few trolls that are targeting the right people, which are getting the right response for them, and it's causing chaos to some degree. There's been a lot of injustices being highlighted against men and women. The numbers of who's getting the worst deal is sort of clouded in this sort of argument. My experience within the video game industry is that women were treated as equals, were thought of as equals, and everyone was happy and there was nothing really wrong about it at all. And I believe that that's the case with most people in the video games industry. I believe that a lot of video game enthusiasts, and that's a certain definition there, in video game enthusiasts are douchebags, trolls with nothing better to do, that don't actually realise that they are upsetting people to the extent that they are. There have been discussions about the stereotype of the gamer and the news of that the gamer is dead. What this is talking about is that the old stereotype of a gamer, so like the white, spotty, single, thin boy playing video games non-stop, is dead, and that it's a lot more varied. There's lots of women and ethnic minorities playing video games, and that it's for everyone, and that can only be a good thing. On the contrary, there's also been a lot of name-calling by people in the industry to fans of video games as a sort of a backlash, and that's just been a slagging match, which is just damaging the industry, especially if it's coming from within inside the industry. There's been a few select people, and that's just letting the side down. I feel like a head teacher that's got some naughty pupils, and I'm just disappointed. I'm just disappointed that the result go that low. Just name call, it's just ridiculous. I can't actually blame the mainstream media for reporting what they reported. If I've been looking all morning at the evidence, and I've seen that the most shocking thing by far was that a minority in the video games industry, which at the moment still are females working in the video game industry, are getting death threats, and that is headline news. That should be reported. And all the other stuff is really complicated, and he said, she said, and it's just difficult to understand. So I can't actually blame the mainstream media for reporting that. It's a story that has been around for a long time, females getting a bad deal in the video game industry, and it's a story that will continue for a long time. If you compare women in video games to other industries like the health and beauty industry, there's a huge lean towards women, and no one seems to be talking about it. If you look at the car mechanic industry, there seems to be a huge lean towards men in that industry, and no one's really talking about it. But the video game industry, there's a huge lean towards men, and a lot of people are talking about it. I believe this is because the video game industry is growing, it's changing, it's in an exciting time where nothing is secure, nothing is guaranteed, and what we'll all be playing in the next 5 to 10 years' time, we don't really know. Jobs are at stake, careers are at stake, creativity and art as it's presented could be mismanaged, and we could end up with rubbish video games for a very long time, which I believe might be happening already with the new gen consoles. I believe that's just a hiccup with the technology, and that we'll get the new good stuff soon, but that's just another side note. So what are your views on Gamergate? Have you heard about it? Have you just heard about it from mainstream media? Are you actually more into the video games and you know what it's on, you know more than me? Like, comment, share, subscribe. I don't want any slagging or name calling. The only people that you should slag off is the industry as a whole for behaving in such a bad way, and that's my view. So if you've got some bad things to say about specific people, I don't really want to hear it. Okay, I'll see you soon. Bit of a morbid one, this one, wasn't it?